Hello, today I talk about a proposal on the agricultural land use monitoring in the Lower Mekong Basin. First of all, I would like to talk about agriculture and land use in the Lower Mekong Basin. As you may know that agriculture is a very important sector in these regions. Agriculture provides livelihood for about 80% of the population in this region. In this region, the food security is still one of the major concerns since we have the 24% of the regional population considered to be below the poverty line. It is very clear that agriculture is the first intervention point to tackle the food security and poverty reduction. Talking about the water use in the Lower Mekong Basin, agriculture is a dominant water-related sector in the Lower Mekong Basin. In the whole Lower Mekong Basin, the dry season irrigated area nowadays is less than 10% of the total agriculture area. It means that we have the huge opportunity to extend irrigated area. However, of course, the expansion of the irrigation is limited by the availability of the dry season water flow and the investment capacity. In some decades, we have seen the agricultural land use have been changed in the following directions. The first direction, we haven't seen the expanding agriculture area. We have the land clearings of the most forests for agriculture in the upland area. We have the improving the agriculture facilities, especially irrigation development. Crops and crop patterns have been changed due to the improvements of the irrigation technology and the market orientation and other reasons. In some areas, agricultural land is neglected, so that crop cultivation is not effective anymore. Therefore, the farmer lets the land to be fallow for some years. Agricultural land change into other use purpose depending on the socio-economic development. For example, the cost of the land could be for the hydropower projects, industrial zone, resident area, and transportation, and so on. Because the change of the agricultural lands has transitory impact. Therefore, we need to monitor the change of the agricultural land. The change of agricultural land leads to change in water allocation for agriculture itself and for other purposes. Sustainable water allocation needs the information on the agricultural development. To be ensured about the food security, agriculture land use change need to make sure to supply enough food at different scales. We know that agriculture is the main livelihood for the local farmers. Therefore, we need to be the monitor to identify the opportunity and reach to the local farmers to seek timely adaptive solutions. The land use change have a temporary impact on the hydrologic process and settlement transportation. They affect directly to other important socio-economic sections such as fishery, navigation, and so on. In general, land use change may have some positive or the negative impacts at the multiple levels of the basin on the environment and local people livelihoods. Land use change need to be monitored to understand the change and the impacts to the basin. To do this in the regional scale, remote sensing and geographic information system are the tools to identify the times of the land use and also to detect the characteristics of the land use change. For sustainable development, causes and the effects of the agricultural land use change need to be analyzed to contribute the recommendations to relevant stakeholders at regional, national, and local levels and set lessons learned as well. Therefore, in this proposal, we propose the numbers of the objectives. The first objective is to produce agricultural land use maps of the 2003 and 2010 from the existing land cover maps and additional land use information. The second objective is to specify the agricultural land use densities. The third one is to analyze the driving forces of the major agricultural land use density in the pilot area. And the fourth is to identify the impact of the land use density to local people livelihood. And the last one to highlight the significant land use density, their implications, and provide recommendations on agricultural land use management for farmers and local governments and land use planning as well. You can see that the objective is quite wide. Therefore, to implement this activity, we need to narrow the objectives. It's the basis why agricultural land use change will be conducted. Then the pilot areas in the lower Mekong basins will be selected to explore the densities of the agricultural lands in detail. The pilot area will be selected where the significant agricultural land use density is recognized. In the case study in the east pilot area, we have a study to learn the impacts of the land use density to the local people livelihood. The people livelihood will be analyzed at household levels to get understanding of the what's key economic activities of the household and the incomes from the activities. The data collected from household will help to see the difference of the household livelihood before and after the land use density and how the land use density can affect to the livelihood. In order to quantify the density of the livelihood, the income of the household from the different sources will be compared between before and after land use density. In this activity, we expect 6 outputs. The first output is maps on the land use in time series from 2003 to 2010 and a report describing in detail the use of each land categories focused on agricultural purposes. And the second output is the maps of agricultural land use change and the density of the major agricultural land use density. And the third one is an analysis on driving forces to agricultural land use density. And the fourth output is a report on case studies to describe the land use density, household livelihood before and after land use density, and the impact of the land use change to their livelihood and labor migration. The next one is the lessons learned to be shared for capacity building of the land agency. The last output is the recommendation to relevant stakeholders at regional policy level, at the national and local, in terms of the agricultural land use management and land use planning as well. To achieve the objective, to get the expected output in the end, we propose to use a number of the methods. The first method we want to use is to collect the secondary data. Land use maps will be collected. They are the time series maps, including the land cover map 2003 and the land cover map of 2010. Other secondary data will be collected from the related data sources, such as statistics of agricultural land area, land use policy, current land use map, and land use plans, and so on. For the land use mapping, we use the land cover map 2003 and 2010, and we test and verify the maps by comparing with other land use map and or use the participatory mapping And we need to study how the farmers use their land for each category of the land use. About the detection of the land use change, the land use change in the periods of the 2003 2010 will be identified by using an overlay techniques in geographic information system. We use the participatory rule operation. In this approach, we use the semi-structured interview with questionnaire to interview households to identify process of the land use changes, economic and labor allocation before and after land use change and their opinions. We use the focus group discussion to identify driving forces of the land use change. The land use change impacts on the local people livelihood and seek the potential adaptation measures for the farmers and the policy suggestions for the government as well. And we will use the participatory mapping to check and verify agricultural land use maps and maps of the agricultural land use change. Thank you very much for your watching. Goodbye.